Hey YouTube, what's up? Ronick here. I got a short video for you today discussing a certain role that's very prevalent in ground battles that can sometimes be the difference between victory and defeat. However, more often than not, it is also the role that nobody wants because it's not fun and you don't get to participate in the map cleanup job. And the role I'm talking about is holding the flanks, while the rest of the team gets to push forward and just farm the enemy team. We've all been in games where the enemy team clearly capitulates at the beginning of the match, and everyone rushes forwards to farm them before they all leave. However, in doing so, it's very easy to overextend the line, causing the balance of power to shift back to the enemy team with a successful flank attack. For historical context, ask the Germans at Stalingrad. One day they have 90% of the city, and it looks like the Russians are about to break, but then in a matter of days the entire German army is surrounded, and the Russians have regained the entire initiative, which changed the course of the war in the East during World War II. Now, the reason I mentioned Stalingrad is because you can essentially take that massive tactic or that massive strategic movement and basically downsize it to War Thunder. Imagine your whole team pushing up the center of the map to try and pin the enemy spawn back, only to leave the flanks open, with a couple decent, competent enemy players using that flank to pick you guys off one by one until eventually there's no one left from the initial attack, and now you have to retake the map back. I have two examples of this to show you from games that I've fought recently. This first match is a game on Attica. I have skipped ahead to about the 5-minute mark, and we're in a stalemate. I've already rushed ahead in my first life and died because I tried to get to the E4 square, but got killed because 3 enemies had the same idea. My team seems content with sniping on the A side, which I literally can't stand because the more time you waste sitting in the lanes on the A side, that's less time you spend trying to actually seize B and C, which I believe are the 2 points that determine victory on this map. And it's literally the most predictable possible routes to the cap point. I know this map's not great, but still. My ally eventually retook C after the enemy had it and began to push forward towards their southeastern spawn. In my head, I was like, great, he's gonna lock down that spawn so I can begin pressuring their southwestern spawn, which would allow me to lighten the resistance around A, allowing my team to push up. I have to be very attentive to the map, as if my teammate's taken out, my rear is exposed. I began making my movement southwest up the hill, thinking my ally would be holding the far west alleyway by C. I felt confident enough to push up the hill knowing my rear was covered. Never mind my horrible play here, because I suck at shooting sometimes, but I quickly realized our third teammate was taken out behind me. I knew the shot wasn't in front of me, but as I looked at the map again, I realized that the guy who I thought would be holding that alleyway actually left, leaving it open. Shortly thereafter, myself and him were taken out from the very position that I thought he had locked down. The significance of this is we had very little tanks on the whole east side of the map. The majority of our resources were on the A side. When we were alive, the front line was approximately here. The moment we were killed, the front line essentially shifts to approximately here. In a matter of seconds, we completely lost control of the east side of the map. If we would have just sat and controlled the map from where we were, we would have known the enemy's approach routes. It's very easy to know where the enemy is likely to come from the closer you are to their spawn. Now that we lost that position, in order for us to retake the east, we would have to cross several crossfire and flanking positions. After we died, I didn't know if they were going to go C, I didn't know if they were going to go B, or I didn't know if they were going to bypass the caps entirely to try and pin us back in our spawn. You see all the uncertainty that we could have avoided if we had just sat and waited them out and held those alleyways out of their spawn? It would have made things way easier. Obviously, it's not as fun, and we wouldn't get to participate in the farming, but it would pretty much secure a victory for us. I mean, this commenter said it best in my last video. Like, this has happened to all of us at some point. You know, while the rest of the team is out farming opponents, it's completely normal to want some of the action. You don't want to feel like you just wasted your time in a match. You just have to be cognizant of how this would affect the outcome. Thankfully, we ended up still winning the match because too many of their players quit and left the match. But I've been in games where the apparent losing team becomes the winning team in one foul swoop like this. You know, and just to prove my point here, I am now being killed in a position that 2 minutes ago was deemed safe because of our map presence. But now we're getting shot coming out of our spawn. Now, obviously, this is a gross exaggeration because of this map and its inherent lanes and views, but you see what I'm saying. For example, 2, here we are on Alaska, single cap game mode. The field is normally no man's land, so I figured most of the fighting would be beach or city. Beach tends to not be a stalemate for too long, as there's literally only one path, versus the city, which has multiple alleyways and streets. My team, out of the gate, successfully secured the cap and immediately starts to put pressure on the enemy team. I literally felt like this was a scene from the movie Patriot.
Infantry reserve into the center.
But my lord, you've taken the field.
Now we should take their spirits, send the entire battalion over that hill and crush them. It ends today.
While the field in Riverside is getting all the glory, I'm beginning to notice the fact that we lost all of our city presence. Then, eventually, this last teammate dies, and our left flank is completely wide open. Presumably, my field pals are going to shoot up the roads and try and spawn camp, but this battle's far from over. There's only a few of us left, preventing the city side from enveloping our whole team. If we were to get killed, the majority of my team would be surrounded in the northeast corner, and reinforcements would have to traverse the unknown in order to liberate them, because presumably the enemy team would now have positions to cut us off as we left our spawn. It's always a good rule of thumb to remember that the farther you are from your spawn, the longer it takes for backup to get there, versus the more you try and corner the enemy, the faster their reinforcements will reinforce them. While I wasn't able to go up and participate in the steamroll, I still felt like I played a super important part in my team's victory. By holding the flank, we prevented the rest of the team from becoming enveloped, which allowed us to retain the map control. They still had a good number of players alive, and I think if they were to destroy us, some of them could have cut off our reinforcements, while some of them could have swept up from behind and eliminated our advance. Then, in a matter of minute or so, they would have had the advantage and we would have had to retake the entire map. So next time you feel like you're missing out on the cleanup job, just remember that your job of holding the flank is just as important. And honestly, I'd rather take the RP that you get from getting a W than getting a couple extra kills, but then losing a game you should have won. To me, that's worse, is losing a game that you should have won. Thanks for watching today, everyone. I hope you learned something, and if you did, let me know in the comments. Additionally, if you enjoyed the video, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It really helps the channel out, and I greatly appreciate all of your support. Stay tuned, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.